In 30 years, I think this snafu by Google will be studied in colleges and universities. Well, if colleges and universities are still around in 30 years. But I think Google has already probably lost more than $1 trillion, at least in market cap. And I think it's something that no one's really talking about. How did Google, slash Alphabet, one of the most powerful companies in the world, at one time was the most powerful company in the world or the biggest company in the world by market cap? How did they completely miss out on more than a year of generative AI? How did they let every single other company beat them? And can they recover? Is it too late? Is Google going to fade into AI oblivion? We're going to be talking about that and a lot more today on Everyday AI. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson. I'm the host, and this thing, it's for you. Everyday AI, it's your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday people like you and me not just learn AI, but how we can get ahead, how we can outsmart the future, and use generative AI to grow our companies and our careers. Is that what you're doing? If so, welcome. This is your home. Your other home is youreverydayai.com. So there on our website, yes, you can sign up for our free daily newsletter. We will be recapping this episode and keeping you up to date with everything else you need to know in AI. But also you can go listen to I don't know, how many episodes do we have now? Like 400, 300? Like we have so many episodes, y'all. I've lost count. We have 430 episodes. You can go listen to them all. Thousands of hours of free AI content sorted by category from the world's leading experts on our website. So make sure you go check that out. All right. Before we get into today's topic I think I'm going to go over the 5 biggest missteps that Google has made so far that has really plagued their kind of go-to-market strategy. But before we get to that, let's start as we do most always and go over the AI news for the day. So China's Alibaba has cut prices on its AI language models by up to 85% amidst a very competitive surge. So Alibaba has announced substantial price reductions of up to 85% on its large language models. So their cloud price cuts pertain to its visual language model, Qwen VL, which processes both text and images. The company has previously implemented drastic price reductions, including a 97% price drop for Qwen AI in May and a 55% cut for various cloud products earlier this year. I think this comes in direct response to one of its biggest competitors in China, DeepSeek, coming out with their V3 model, which is so cheap, it's essentially free. But even with these price cuts, Alibaba's stock only rose 0.5%. On the last trading day of the year in Hong Kong. So this increased competition from Alibaba will pressure U.S. companies like OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and Microsoft to adjust their pricing strategies to enhance their offerings and stay competitive in the global AI market share. Yeah, I'm going to have my 2025 AI predictions probably in a couple of weeks, but I'll tell you this. China is going to be all up in there because they have gone from similarly like how Google missed the boat, right? You could say 2 years ago, China was way behind, but I think they're going to crush in the global AI, kind of AI arms race in 2025. All right, our next piece of AI news. And hey, live stream audience, thanks for tuning in. Got a little question. So Suzanne, thanks for joining us. Brian, thanks for joining. Jay, everyone else. Got a little question on the screen there. Let me know. Next piece of AI news, NVIDIA's acquisition of Run AI is officially official. So NVIDIA's acquisition of Run AI, which is valued at $700 million, is seen as a strategic step to enhance its control over AI infrastructure. So the deal was initially announced in April 2024, but it has drawn a ton of regulatory attention and kind of got dragged through the red tape before it was just now officially approved, as the European Commission approved the merger this month, stating it would not pose competition issues, despite NVIDIA already holding an 80% share of the GPU market. So, regulatory bodies in the US are conducting an antitrust investigation, raising concerns that such mergers could eliminate emerging competitors in the fast paced AI industry. So, Run AI, if you don't know, specializes in software optimization for AI infrastructure and plans to open source its software to broaden compatibility across the AI ecosystem, aiming to foster inclusivity. All right, last but not least, more of a early spotting in the wild, but Twitter's Grok or XAI's Grok or X's Grok, whatever you want to call it, that chatbot on Twitter that no one really uses, well, it may be coming to the web. So Twitter's Grok may be looking to play in the AI search space with a dedicated web app. So according to some Twitter users who shared screenshots, XAI's Grok, which is known as kind of a cheeky large language model embedded inside of Twitter, looks like it's getting its own dedicated web presence at grok.com. So grok.com has just launched with early web access. So details are super scarce right now, but it appears to just be a standalone version of Grok, which, like I said, right now you have to be logged inside of X, formerly known as Twitter, to use. And it looks like it does have real-time web access as well in that standalone app. So for those news stories and a ton more, make sure you go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. All right. Let's get into it, y'all. And it's the last Hot Take Tuesday of 2024. Let me know, y'all. I never like coming too hot on Tuesdays, right? I'm tired. I don't know how much I have left, but for our live stream audience, let me know. Should I just bring a little heat today on our last Hot Take Tuesday of the year, or should I go scorched earth? I swear, I just take cues from you guys. If you guys don't want the spice, I'll be nice. But if you want the fire, give you what your heart's desire. That was a really cheesy rhyme. Yeah, this is unedited, unscripted, y'all. But let's get into it. Suzanne says, "Bring the heat." All right, Suzanne. We'll see if anyone else agrees with you, or if I should play it safe. All right. So let's get to the harsh reality of Google's position right now in the kind of the AI arms race. And let me say why I think this is a $1 trillion mistake already. All right. You guys know I always bring receipts to the show. I'm a former journalist, so I do a lot of research, right? I always try to break things. So when I come with videos or podcasts or something in the newsletter, it's never just running off of a random rumor, right? It's going through and testing things exhaustively. It is putting all of these large language models through their paces. I've spent thousands of hours this year alone, right, in large language models. So I have the paid version of Gemini on my personal Gmail account. I have the paid version of Gemini on my, kind of Google Workspace account, my business account, and I have since day one. And I have, paid access, all the way from your, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, right? I'm even on the $200 a month. So what I'm trying to say is, I spend more time than 99% of the population investigating large language models and their rollout and how they change over time, right? Have thousands of videos on our YouTube channel as well, where I've been documenting this, all right? Because what we have today from Google Gemini is not what we had. However, if you look at the kind of the first official year or 2 years since the generative AI boom, right? And we say that's the ChatGPT moment of November 2022. So since that time, yes, Google's stock has soared, as has every other AI company, right? But not as much as their closest competitor, right? Depending on if you're looking at the software side, the hardware side, but two of Google's closest competitors are Apple and Microsoft. So if we look at just Microsoft as an example, since the ChatGPT boom, Microsoft has added $200 billion more in market cap than Google has, or Google's parent company, Alphabet. So it's about a $1.1 trillion increase versus a $1.3 trillion increase from Microsoft. So a lot of people just look at Google stock and they're like, "Oh no, Google didn't fumble the AI go to market. They didn't fumble their Google Gemini strategy. They absolutely did. All right. And what I'm trying to do here, y'all, is I am still baffled to this day. And I've talked about it dozens of times throughout the first 2 years. I am baffled by how hard Google fumbled the bag when it came to their AI go to market strategy, when it came to Gemini. It was disastrous. And I'm not kidding. I do think this will ultimately be a case study in what not to do in business, right? In business schools. I'm not saying Google is going to fade into oblivion, although I don't know if they're a top two player in AI. I think, December has really changed that. But, if you would have asked me in October, November, I would say Google, home of the transformer discovery, right? Home of Google DeepMind, home of some of the best researchers in the world, that they should have had a multiple year head start on companies like Microsoft, like Apple, just because of the birth. Google is the birthplace of the transformer technology, right? The technology that paved the way for the GPT from OpenAI. The transformer technology was birthed in Google. Yet 3 months ago, they were scratching for relevancy in the AI space. 6 months ago, I don't even think they were a top 3 player. That has changed in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to get to that. But they've already lost out to Microsoft, $200 billion. And it's going to continue there. I think people are going to, see Google's, or the parent company Alphabet stock go up, and they're like, oh yeah, Google did fine with their AI rollout. No, they didn't. It was, I think, one of the most disastrous rollouts in the history of business. It was historically bad. And like I said, Google had an unfair advantage. Unfair advantage. They were, at one time, less than a decade ago, the biggest company in the world by market cap, right? And now they're, most days barely top 5 in the US, or, I guess they have a nice hold on number 5, but I don't think they're going to be a top 2 company anytime soon, right? I don't think they're catching NVIDIA. I don't think they're catching Apple. I don't think they're catching Microsoft. I don't think they are. I really don't. So let's dissect a little bit, shall we? Brian says, bring the fire. All right, Bedros, thanks for joining us from Twitter, saying Google did in fact fumble, but they're showing some good signals. Absolutely. I will get to this, but I think that Google had the best single month in AI of any company ever. Yes, it was a crazy 2 years for Google. They did more in December 2024 than they've done collectively in the AI space for their existence, right? Yes, talk about a drastic turnaround. But I want to talk real quickly here about the 5 missteps that they made. And we're going to get to at the end if they can actually turn it around. All right, so let's go over the missteps. Misstep number 1, very well documented. Talk about, this is the snafus of snafus. Google's misleading launch video, mistake number 1, right? So in December of last year, 1 year ago, they had their kind of Gemini promotional video. And let's be honest, it was, to say it nicely, it was manipulated. To say other people's words, Google straight up lied, right? So, when they announced, Gemini, right? So the official relaunch, right? Because at first Google had their Bard chatbot, they rebranded it, and then there was a big launch in December 2023. Gemini is going live, right? And essentially in the video, I have a screenshot here for our live stream audience. In the video, they showed that Google had like live AI capabilities, right? That you could talk to it and it could see That wasn't the case. It was fabricated. It was a lie. Google got dragged through the media, rightfully so, right? Like this article here saying Google admits the Gemini AI demo hands-on video was staged. So it was later revealed in a blog post after everyone's like, "Yo, this isn't right. There's no way that this is correct." They later revealed that, oh, actually, Google Gemini can't see anything live. You can't talk to it. They showed like the example that I talked about on this show last year was a video of paper, rock, scissors. Yes, I know everyone says it differently than me. I'm weird. I say paper, rock, scissors, right? But they showed a video of Google Gemini, quote unquote, playing paper, rock, scissors. And it's like, oh, wow. You could talk to Gemini and Gemini knows what you're doing in real time. Amazing. Nope. That was fake. It was all faked. What they actually showed is they had to take photos from that video or screenshot and upload it multiple times with text prompts to Gemini to get those responses. And then they, had actors, play it out. Or, they fed a model, right? Hey, say this, right? It was fake. It was staged. Talk about the biggest stage in the world. I still, this is one of those, right? If you're an AI dork like me, this is one of those catastrophic events that like you'll remember where you were. I was actually on the stage. I was at a speaking event at the AI Summit in New York City. I was literally giving my speech. When I got out, I checked my phone and the internet was on fire with this, right? It was both disbelief and also amazement, because everyone's like, wow, did you see what Google Gemini, what Google announced? But then at the same time, everyone's like, yo, this is not possible, right? And it wasn't. Google admitted it was staged, and the launch of that video generated millions of views. It went mega viral, and Google, with its tail between its legs, had to unlist the video because it was that bad. Yeah. All right. So that is mistake number one. Yeah, Betro says nasty work. It was nasty work. All right. Let's get to mistake number two. Confusing access within Google Workspace. So, like I said, it's confusing. Google Gemini is extremely confusing. I think it's gotten better here in the last month. But I have a paid account for Gemini Advanced in my personal Gmail and my business Gmail. Okay, so for our live stream audience, I have two different screenshots here. So on the left-hand side, this is my personal Gmail. All right, my account here. So you'll see I can select different models, right? Seems to make more sense. I can go select 1.5 Pro, 1.5 Flash, 1.5 Pro with deep research, 2.0 Flash Experimental, 2.0 Experimental Advanced, right? Cool. Okay, at least I kind of know what I'm using, what model I'm using. On the right-hand side, I have nothing. Yes, I am paying, I don't know, $20 to $30 a month for Gemini Advanced in my business workspace account. I have no clue what I'm using, and I haven't because Google doesn't tell you. All right. And this has been like this since day one. And so many of the features that Google talks about within its Google Gemini chatbot are not there, and they haven't been there. Right. You can go into if you have a personal Gmail account, and this might be different because I've heard that some people have, Gemini access within their workspace account and they have a model selector. I've never seen it. Right. I have so many different paid accounts, so I'm always testing. I've never seen it. Every single setting is turned on to allow for full access to Google Gemini. And also, I'm talking about the front end of Google Gemini. All right. So right now, when I'm talking about using Google Gemini and, knowing which variation of a model, this is every single model except Google. Right. So whether you want to talk about Mistral, whether you want to talk about Meta's Llama, ChatGPT, Claude, etc. When you log into their front end chatbot, you can select which model you're talking to. So you can see, oh, I can go look up information about this model. Here's when it was updated. Here's the knowledge cutoff. Here's, how many parameters it reportedly has, whatever. You can go read more information because the number one thing with AI adoption when it comes to enterprise is trust and transparency. And if Google didn't already learn from their December 2023 fumbling of the bag and straight up lying in their Gemini video, if they didn't already learn about trust and transparency today, so many businesses want to explore Gemini, right? Businesses are still figuring out implementation and they go in, maybe they are paying, $20 per month per user for Google Gemini across their organization. And they go in to gemini.google.com and they're like, what am I using? You have no clue. You have to investigate it. I literally spent an hour last night trying to reinvestigate. And the best that I can find, right, for what model you have, unless you have a selector, is a model that was last updated in May. All right, so more on that in a bit. Mistake number 3, the initial lack of real-time information. Y'all, Google's AI product did not have access to real-time information from Google. Yes, let me repeat that. Google's Gemini, when it was launched, did not have access to real-time information from Google. Y'all. If you're listening on the podcast, literally face palm. I'm palming my face. Who approved this, right? There's probably hundreds of people that approved this. Do you guys not understand the complete lack of foresight? I'm trying to be nice. No, someone up here, yeah, Brian said 4 flame emojis. That was dumb. That was one of the most mind-numbing, simple mistakes that I've ever seen. The fact, and y'all, yes, Google Gemini can access real-time information from the web now. I know, right? I test these things almost daily, at least not a couple times a week. But I have about a handful of videos from 2023 and early 2024 that show Gemini couldn't access Google, right? You ask it information about an event from 3 months ago, right? And it's like, I don't know, right? It's like using Claude, right? I can't believe Claude from Anthropic still doesn't have access to the internet, but that's different, right? It's not Google, the search king, the epitome of the internet. How did Google, that has more online access than any other company in the world, has more data points, how did they launch an AI chatbot that didn't have access to Google? So early versions lacked real-time data and it relied on outdated info. Unlike ChatGPT, when it first launched, had access to browse with Bing, right? Microsoft Copilot, same thing, had access to Bing. Meta Llama, when it launched, had access to Google, right? Mind-numbingly. I'm out of words. I know it's 2024. I still cannot understand this. And when I talk about this is ultimately a $1 trillion mistake, it is. I'm going to say my hottest takes for number 5, I guess. So mistake number 4, limited functionality within workspace apps. So yes, there's a lot of different ways you can access Google Gemini. So you can go to the front end, it's chatbot interface, gemini.google.com. You can go to Google AI Studio. You can go to Vertex, Google's Vertex platform. But also, Google Gemini was kind of rolled out across its workspace apps. So within your Gmail, right? If you go to Gmail, there's the little Google Gemini there. If you go to Google Slides, if you go to Google Docs, if you go to Google Sheets, right? It was absolutely useless for the first, 3 to 9 months. Absolutely useless. And I have videos, before you say, oh, Jordan, You don't know what you're talking about. Look at me. I can go right now. Google, Gemini is great within Gmail. Yeah, it wasn't for the first 3 to 9 months. I have videos asking it simple questions about email. Can't do that, right? Google Gemini within Google Sheets, asking simple questions about data analysis, about formulas. It said, oh, I can't do that. What can you do? It literally got this prominent placement within Google Sheets, Google Docs, Gmail, etc. And it did nothing. It did absolutely nothing except frustrate and show a complete lack of go-to-market strategy from one of the biggest companies in existence. Again, facepalm. Facepalm to everyone at Google from 2023 to mid 2024. You rolled out Gemini in Workspace that did not work. It was confusing and it was just absolutely terrible. When we talk about $1 trillion mistakes, just kept making them. First couple of years, Google just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. There were certain times when preparing for shows, I couldn't believe that this was a real company. It made no sense, especially when you saw how much better Microsoft Copilot was, especially when you saw how much better ChatGPT was. Yes, ChatGPT, you can't access it everywhere in the internet. But when you saw how two of its closest competitors rolled out the AI technology in 2023 and the early parts of 2024. Asinine. The early versions of Gemini in its Google Workspace literally didn't work. All right. So last but not least, y'all, mistake number 5. And this is the biggest mistake of them all. Outdated models on the front end. Okay. So like I said, you can access Google Gemini in many different ways. Live stream audience, let me know. Did you know, before you maybe heard from me, did you know that to get Google's latest large language models prior to December, prior to this month, you couldn't do it from gemini.google.com, right? The same way that you would go to ChatGPT, right? The way that ChatGPT has it, they update their GPT-4o model fairly frequently. It's always called GPT-4o latest. And, under the hood, usually multiple times a month, they update that GPT-4o latest and it goes live inside of ChatGPT. Claude, right? Even though Anthropic, yes, they just did update Claude 3.5 Sonnet new, right? But they at least, even though a lot of their models are old and haven't been updated in a while, still what you're using inside the chat interface is the newest model. Always. Right? Same thing with Mistral, Meta, etc. How did Google get this so wrong? Because when you go to gemini.google.com, until literally 2 weeks ago, you had no clue what model you were using. Right? So the last reliable information that I found was from an old blog post that said Google, and I don't even know, right? On my account that I don't have a model switcher for, I have no clue what model I'm using. Zero clue. And Google, to their credit, ships amazing updates to Gemini. But you can't access them on gemini.google.com, at least not until this month, right? And you had no clue. You had to go to Google's AI Studio, which is really built for developers, right? But for the most part, I think a lot of us were using a model called Gemini 1.5 Pro 001, which I believe was a May release. So even as people read, right, and you see these, these LM arenas, the chatbot arena rankings, right? Google's been crushing it, right? In August, they had a great update. Climb the leaderboards, November, December, right? They've had some of the most capable large language models over the last few months. Not when you go to use it on the front end. You have no clue what you're using, right? I could be wrong here. I had some VP level people confirm this on Twitter a couple of months ago. I'm like, yo, what model? And I'm asking people all the time because people need trust. They need transparency, right? If you're benchmarking different models, if you're trying to find the right model for your company, you have to know what you're using on the front end before you go and integrate on the back end. This is, I think, Big Head Jordan coming back in. This is one of the biggest mistakes that Google made. When AI is democratized, you have everyday people like you that's listening to this, like me. You have everyday people making AI decisions for AI strategy, AI implementation. What model are we going to use? Which API is best for which project, right? For enterprise companies, Fortune 500 companies, I have more than a handful of actual examples of Fortune 500 companies that I've talked to both online and offline that have made huge multi-million-dollar investments into using these products by first testing them out on the front end. So Google, I think they finally realize now, maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple people out there are listening and they got annoyed of me railing them all the time on this. But if you put old models that are 3, 6, 9 months old on your Gemini front end, and you hide it, you hide your new most powerful models on the back end within Google AI Studio, within Vertex, etc. You have non-technical people that have no clue. I literally know CEOs of Fortune 100 companies that are going in and playing with these large language models, which is great, right? And then they're like, oh, and then they hand it off to their, C-suite, and they're like, all right, well, here's what I saw. Go play with these, right? It's not necessarily people with PhDs in machine learning that are making these decisions for enterprise companies. It's everyday non-technical people. This isn't software developers. This isn't always engineers. This isn't always CISOs or CTOs, right? Chief technology officers. It's not highly technical people that are making these multi-million-dollar decisions for thousands of enterprise companies here in the US and across the world. It is non-technical people. So Google has literally been losing an unforeseen amount of money. And that's why I say, yeah, I can point to a $200 billion shortfall, at least when you compare, Google's market cap gains over the past 2 years versus Microsoft and Google, right? But I can guarantee Google has left billions of dollars on the table because they did not understand that AI is for everyone. And you have literally large Fortune 100, Fortune 500 enterprise organizations going to gemini.google.com, going to chatgpt.com, going to claude.ai, going to Microsoft Copilot, playing with models, seeing how they work, and making multi-million-dollar long-term decisions because you, Google, decided until this month to completely forgo trust, transparency, and communication. Fumbled. So can Google turn it around? I think they absolutely can. All right. So first, we have to acknowledge this month. Google absolutely crushed it. All right. So yeah, I've been hard on Google, but because they've made boneheaded moves, right? They're and this isn't new from Google, right? They change their names of their products all the time, kill products, bring them back, right? They make terrible moves. A lot of them turn out, to be good moves. Their Gemini, their go-to-market strategy with AI, historically bad. It will be studied. But this month, December 2024, they turned it around. So now the Gemini front end, well, if you have a personal Gmail account, at least you can go experiment. You can, test out their real models without having to go into Google AI Studio. So now you have Gemini 2.0 Flash experimental, Gemini 2.0 experimental, and deep research, which I love deep research. It is far better than Perplexity. It is far better than ChatGPT search. All right. So you have great product releases. Veo, it's AI. Is it Veo or Veo? Does anyone know? Uh, Veo, it's AI video tool that is completely crushing Sora in head-to-head, comparisons. Who knows when the general public will get access to Veo 2, because they announced Veo 1 and no one really got access. So here we are, Veo 2, way better than Sora. Still no one has access. But from a generative AI standpoint, Google crushed it in December 2024, right? They didn't go with flashy marketing with the same approach they went with in December 2023, which was watching a train crash. Completely different in December 2024. No words, just shipped, right? OpenAI had their 12 days, 12 days of ship miss, 12 days of OpenAI, a lot of marketing. They created live stream events, a lot of eyeballs, right? In all things considered, OpenAI did great. Gemini said nothing. No flashy video like the great mistake of 2023, and they just shipped a bunch of products that were better, right? They stole the show. They did. So can Google turn it around? Well, some signs that lead me to believe, as I just said, their new products, fantastic. Notebook LM, probably top 3 AI tool that exists. Everyone's sleeping on Notebook LM. It's amazing. Got to have someone from the team, from Google's team. I've been talking with them for a couple of months, trying to coordinate them to bring a guest on the show. Notebook LM is one of the best products I've ever used. Same thing with deep research. Did a dedicated show on that a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic. Their new models, 2.0 experimental, 2.0 flash, chart topping, great, crushing it. I also think great hire here. So Logan Kilpatrick was, I think, in charge of, developer communications at OpenAI. He is now the senior product manager for Gemini or Google at Google. So a pretty key hire there from Google, taking away who I think is probably one of the most connected people in AI. I have to think that Google's turnaround had something to do with Logan's work, right? And I can't even begin to understand the task, right? If you started in April of 2024, it takes time to do these things. So I do believe that we will start to see better rollouts, more developer focused, but hopefully more of these hit front end users. And now Gemini finally works in apps, right? So yes, the front end of Gemini has been improved. You can, if you have a certain level of Gemini Advanced, you can select which model you're using, know which model, have that trust and transparency. But also now Gemini finally works within those apps, right? The same simple things it couldn't do, like in Gmail, recap this email, summarize this email. Hey, Bill from accounting emailed me a couple of weeks ago. What did he say, right? Google Gemini couldn't really do anything of use in Gmail, in Google Docs, right? In Google Docs, it's write for me or write with me feature. Just wrote things that weren't related to the document that you were working on, right? Same thing in Sheets. Google Gemini did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. I have videos where I said, hey, create a formula. I can't do that. Hey, tell me 5 trends in this spreadsheet. Can't do that. Ask simple questions about something in Google Sheets. Can't do that. Now Google Gemini actually works. So can Google turn it around? Yes. I think this month, the past 2 weeks now show that OpenAI actually has a real competitor in Google. 3 months ago, I'll say this, I was wrong. 3 months ago, I said OpenAI is so far ahead, no one's going to catch them. they have competition now, right? They have competition now. Yes, Microsoft, right? But Microsoft uses OpenAI's GPT-4o technology. But when it comes to models, when it comes to a platform, I said no one's going to be able to catch ChatGPT. Google, you've got our attention now. Don't fumble it like you did in December 2023. All right. I hope this was helpful, y'all. If it was, please repost this, share it with someone who needs to know. And this is the last show of 2024. Wild, y'all. So if you haven't already, please go to youreverydayai.com. So on our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. We recap every single show. Maybe you're listening to this on the treadmill or out walking your dog. Sorry, people. Sometimes, you say that you listen to this show live and you stay on there on the treadmill or something until I shut up. So, you can always, if you miss something from a show, from a guest, we have great guests lined up already for 2025. I can't wait to bring you all some of the guests that we already have lined up. You can always go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. We recap every single podcast episode. You can go sort by categories. You can go click that AI learning tracks button or the episode button on our website. It is a free generative AI university. We've talked to hundreds of the smartest people in the world on AI, all sorted for you to learn there. So if one of your goals in 2025 is to get ahead with AI, is to learn more, one-stop shop. It's all there on our website. Thousands of hours of videos, audio. You can go listen to the podcast, read about it. It's all there. So thank you all so much. We appreciate your support as we wrap up 2024. Can't see what next year brings. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you next year at Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.